Well, it's this thing in many communities, historically, schools were understood as extensions of a community. Now, that's not in all places, and I don't want to romanticize that. But at the same time, you did have places where folks could get something to eat, people could get adult education classes, people could get their taxes done. I mean, these spaces where it was a space that was accessible to the community. And I think when you have schools as spaces that are accessible, you get actually more buy-in to the relevance of that space and more people who are willing to defend that space. And I think that's what we're seeing in places like Chicago with the Whittier moms who went on a 43-day sit-in, or the hunger strike in Little Village in 2001, or the occupation of Piccolo School for 2 days. So these spaces understood as community as places of value and places that should perpetually be accessible. But now we're distancing ourselves. And some people would argue that that's always been a tension, that school has been this place, in many instances, depending on the neighborhood, where young folks were just to be housed, right? Not necessarily engaged in any type of instruction, but literally just to be housed and to be in some type of factory/prison-like condition. So the thing is, what does it mean to rise against that particular reality and say, what does a functioning school look like for communities who have been historically under-resourced and underserved? Living in a 24-hour media cycle kind of purports us to this sensationalism. And I think we really have to look at that undercurrent, that underpinning around what are we sensationalizing, right? And again, what are these deeper undercurrents? I mean, I think that, you know, for us to really understand oppression, poverty, marginalization, I mean, it allows us to look at things differently, not to be these folks, not to be fatalistic or to be in this type of constant state of deficit, but to say, in order for us to address the conditions that we know to exist, we have to be real about what these conditions are. I mean, and I think that's, when we talk about a critical education, a problem-posing education, an education for liberation, if you will, these are the things that I think we need to ask deeper questions around. Can education, in the way that we know it, be a process that we engage our lives with the purpose of changing the human condition? You know, starting with our own.